I think I am. Yep, there we go. We are active. Why does it keep saying second attempts? For some reason, it's telling me the old names. Second attempt with plush strawberry mouse. That's like the second one I made. Yeah, it's just popping up that way. It's weird. Hey, Seal. Hey, Catbee. Okay, I am still working on figuring out what we're going to do for today. Did not realize that I already had a second hand cut out. I love you too, Vance. What do you guys think of the wings? Here, let me try and get a better view here. Hey there. Yes, you are my son. Look at these wings. What do you guys think? I think they turned out pretty darn good. We got the holes in them and everything. So, we are getting down to the last few steps. I've got eyebrows to make.
Awesome.
Thank you. I've got to decide on how we're going to do feet. I've got a few extra parts here. Thank you so much. I thought they turned out great. I've got them weaved into the back. So it goes through the back here. There's a hole here and a hole here, and I just kind of hand stitched them together. It's not a process that is hard to repeat, so I can do more of these if people wind up liking them. So I am trying to decide now what part we're going to do today. So Catbee and Seal, you guys are both here. I have these fins that I want to put on the side of the head. We have to decide on feet and eyebrows. And then we have to decide if we want to change the shape of the head as well. So we got a few options there. Do you guys have any preferences on what we should work on today? I could do the eyebrows pretty easily, but we have a lot of steps that would be taken for the gills. I don't know if gills or fins or what that would be called, but we'll just call that just like the side of the head, the ears or something like that. So we're kind of putting together different pieces of this. But that's what we've got so far. And we've done all of this live. I've made every piece of this alive. I did a few touch-ups on the wings. Like I made this wing a little bit off camera, and then I sewed it together. But this whole thing has been decided on together with you guys, including like the underside of this tentacle. So eyebrows, and what time we have left, we can start on the ears. Sounds good to me. That should be a pretty easy process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck him all in, him out of my way. Actually, I think I need to use the head. Here we go. Keep the head right here.
What happened?
Nothing happened, buddy. So I'm going to do just a real simple little sketch to see what size we want the eyebrows to be. Change my angle just a little bit. Thank you. I'm glad he's looking cute, Tina T. Tina Ta. Tina Ta. Let's see. We'll start off with a couple inches. Right about here. Now, one of the things, I have to make everything just a little bit bigger because I'm going to lose about 1/4 of an inch on everything that I make. So I think maybe just a tiny bit bigger than this sketch. And the good news is what I can do afterwards is I can sew in and make it just a little bit smaller. I can give it a little bit of a different shape. But we're going to start with something very simple. Maybe a little bit longer. This is probably going to be the first step towards making it cute. I think that so far everything we've done has been kind of ambiguous between cute and scary. And I think the expression is going to make all the difference on whether or not it lands as a cute plush or not. And let's see here. Again, I want to make sure that the fuzz goes the right direction. I'm going to have that going sideways. So if I have it going sideways, I can do this like with the eyebrows. I can pet them sideways like that. So let's go ahead and do that.
No, the dog will eat. You cannot put the Play-Doh on the floor. The dog will eat it. Okay.
Dog eat my Play-Doh.
Now, when I do this, don't forget, a lot of what I'm doing is kind of based on my quick experiences. But don't forget, you have to invert it. So if you are making two sides of the same thing, when you trace one side and then you flip it to trace the other side. Now, something like this, you probably couldn't even tell. If you had more angle, like let's pretend like the angle was a little bit more like this, you would have a smaller end instead of being pretty much the same. That will make more of the difference. Now, I'm only doing it just kind of out of habit whenever I think about it. But it is one of those things that if you're making plushes on your own and you're trying to make a plan, a solid plan, and you have two sides of an item, for example, these tentacles, Vance, I had to flip it so that it's mirrored when I cut it out. And then, of course, you sew the outsides together. So you want to sew the part that's going to be facing out together so that you hide your seam. And you might be thinking that that's kind of obvious as far as details go for sewing, but I don't know what is or isn't truly obvious for someone who's just kind of learning. And I like the idea of teaching somebody, even if I'm just kind of running through and we're making this semi-planned plush. That way, if anybody's kind of watching this later, they have the little bits of information that might help them more than I thought. So in this case, I will have the eyebrow going sideways on both of these. And I want to make sure I get them going the same direction, because that's how they were planned. So I can sew them together like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave just a little patch right here undone. That way I can right side it out. And then if I need to, I can always give it more shape by re-sewing it. I can make it smaller. I can't make it bigger, but at the very least, it kind of has a slightly big starting point. I'm here to listen and doing homework for my bachelor's. Oh, nice. What are you going to school for? Probably something way more useful than what I went to school for, but I went to school for something I really wanted to do as opposed to thinking about money, and that's probably my fault anyways. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and just do a real quick stitch here. I've done eyebrows several times, and really what's funny is how much of a difference an eyebrow makes on almost any plush's face. As it stands, just the eyes, okay, it's kind of cute. It's got a shape to it, recognizable and everything. But as soon as you start putting eyebrows on them, it makes them a wholly different thing. I'm trying to move my pedals so I can actually work. I'm also trying to figure out my direction here. Social work and human resources. I really want to work at children's hospitals as a caseworker. That's going to be some hard work. Hey, Tostada. It's not a spider, but at the same time, I can see why you would think that with multiple eyes. Hopefully, by the time we're done, it'll be instantly recognizable is what we're aiming for. Cat bee, I have a few friends that have gone to school for that, and that's some hard work. Especially being a caseworker, the things that you have to see and try to help people through, even when it's not bad stuff like it can be, it's still so hard to do. And I've known a lot of people that really went to school because they went through the bad circumstances and they were trying to help people avoid that. So I wish you all the luck. And that is one of those professions that you really have to care about to be able to feel able to do. A lot of tough work. I grew up in the system, and with my son, they help so much. See, exactly. That's kind of what I keep hearing from most people who are going into that kind of thing, is how much they benefited from somebody looking out for them, or how much they wish somebody had looked out for them. All right, so I made such a small piece that I knew that my underside was going to kind of move around on me. So I did have some stitches that were missed. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix those. Normally, I'll have like an extra piece of material that I will use as a handle so I can pull this through and keep so that it doesn't get tangled up, folded up, or anything like that. But this is just a test piece right now, so I don't really have an extra one to make. And since I've already made all the arms that we've done, all the other pieces, it really is just, I gotta suffer. So I'm gonna go ahead and check my stitch again, make sure that all my seams survived. Looks like I've got a spot here that did not sew again. Like I just went right back over the same spot that I missed. And it looks like here too. So I'm going to try that one more time. I'm tired of dropping stuff. I'm already tired of dropping stuff today. One moment, and let's see if I can't get this working. Okay, I think I got it that time. Cut, get these out of the way. And resew this. Again, I'm just trying to make sure the eyebrow is completely sewn together. Such a simple thing, but sometimes these small things are harder. That's why I've had a few people ask me about using my mice, my tiny little mice or bunnies, as a starting point to learn how to sew. Like they've asked if I had patterns. I said, yes, I definitely do. But honestly, it's so small that it's so hard to do. What game are you playing, Tina? Teeny? Honestly, I don't have time to play games very often. So the only time I play is when I've got friends to play, which means that I haven't played a single player game in a very long time. It's always been stuff, first person shooters, battle royale. And I really love playing with my friends, but it's hard to do when you're trying to watch your son, trying to do work, trying to fit everything I can into every minute of work, of being awake. I'm playing Call of Duty. That's one of my games. I will admit that my preference is an older version. I like Blackout 4's. Black Ops 4, they have a battle royale called Blackout, and that is still a fantastic game. But I have been playing Warzone lately, so I've been having a little bit more fun with that. I've got a couple friends that play that one. Okay, so check this out. What's funny is you sent a mustache. I'm trying to send a mustache. You know what? Before, the mustache and hat, I wonder if it'll appear. Oh, nope. Wrong button. I had a friend who sent me a mustache and hat, and it landed on my mouse. I don't know anything else about those. My favorite is Black Ops 3 and Ghosts. I've been playing Warzone with friends. Warzone really has gotten a lot more fun. All right, guys, check this out before we keep talking about Warzone. We've got an eyebrow, and I do think it's a little bit too big. I'm going to cut it down a little bit, but first, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and stuff this up. If you look on my page, there's a couple times where I have been playing Blackout while working. I'll be like sewing or drawing, and then when we go to drop, I will pan up. So I do love me some Blackout. Black Ops is fun. Warzone tricked me into saying that they were bringing in a Blackout Royale, and then like a month or two later, they took it off and replaced it with Hot Pursuit, which is also fun. I just don't like the loadouts because I can't play long enough to max out my weapons. I can't spend all day playing. All right. Oh, thank you so much, George. I also meant to say thank you as well. Jen Mel and George, thank you so much for sending those. I'm not sure what they are. The truth be told, I like the idea of people sending me stuff because it makes me feel like you're enjoying yourself, but I don't know what it is. And here is our first test for the eyebrow. What do we think? Too big? I'm going to pin this in place. That way you can see it without my hands in the way. So I've got that. I do think it's too big, but we could always go real big. Because here's the thing. If we change the position just a little bit, it is a little bit too big, partly because I have to finish sewing that end up. But for the time being, that's just going to have to be what we see. So we've got different expressions we can give it. Kind of gives it the puppy dog eyes. I don't like that they changed the loadout since my Black Ops 6 loadout was so good. Yeah, they are constantly nerfing and buffing different weapons because they just don't want people to keep playing the same way. But the problem isn't that. The problem is that that game is so reliant on connection that all you have to do is have the better connection and you're going to win. And then the streamers do that and think that they're amazing when the truth is they just have a better connection and that game is really heavy on it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit smaller. I think that that would be a good plan. You guys agree? A heart hand. I saw the heart hand for a second. It bums me out that it doesn't stay up because then I could like find someplace for it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this little mouse right here and see if it happens again. I had somebody send me like a cowboy hat and it picked the mouse and it just put the cowboy hat on the mouse. Angry and smaller. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely go smaller. We'll start smaller. We're going to keep it at a flat expression. That way I can move it around a little bit. And then that gives us an option to kind of pick an expression. I can do like, and once I do two of these, I can do always like one high, one low. So it's kind of like a confused face. I can make them both very angry. I have no problems with making them angry. But this way we'll be able to see what we're looking at kind of. Let's start off by making you just a little bit smaller. Instead of sewing all the way around, I'm just going to sew. Well, actually, it'll just be a little bit easier to sew all the way around. I was going to say all I'll do is sew the sides. But I wanted it thinner, not just shorter. And I realized in order to do that, I was going to have to sew all the way across the back anyways. Let's see, making sure... Angry and smaller. All right, excellent, excellent. So we've definitely got some agreement on there, and we got a consensus, so that's good. Put you back over here. Every time I pick it up, it comes up with something else. I got a plush this time. Oops. I've got fuzz. I promise I've been cleaning up my space a little bit better, but still, there's so much mess, so much fuzz everywhere. So I just saw something recently that TikTok was offering extra rewards for people that were streaming. Have you guys ever thought about streaming while you're playing? I know that's not going to be for everybody. I can't imagine playing a game and then having to talk the whole time, but I think that people kind of get used to it. I just haven't. And I guess it's not much different than if I'm talking to my friends. So I guess it wouldn't be too bad. I really think it's already hard for me to like focus on what I'm doing here and looking at the messages, but I've seen streamers that are able to do both the whole time. So I'm wondering if they've got like a totally different type of setup. For me, I would have to have a second camera instead of running it straight through my system so that you could, because what happens is anytime I'm working, I've got my entire setup of what I'm working on. So maybe I'm drawing, maybe I'm sewing, and then the TV would be up here. So I'd have to like turn the TV back and forth or turn the camera back and forth between the two. And since you guys actually play, maybe one day, a couple nights, I can start doing something like that. I don't know if that would be fun to watch or not, but if it is, just let me know. So what'll happen is I'll literally be working on a project and then just bouncing back and forth through the game every time I go for a loadout and whenever I'm dead. But I don't have a great connection. I live 12 minutes from town. I'm going to show you what my outside looks like. We got a garage mess out here. This is where I live. We have neighbors. But look at this. There is nothing around. That's just what my home looks like. My backyard looks like. Huge yard. Chip likes the backyard, but we haven't cleaned up the far back. I'm actually trying to set up that far back so it can become like a community garden. But that's taking so many steps. That saving cabin. I don't know which one you're referring to. I passed by a few different things there. Oh, there we go. Okay, so here we go. So here's our smaller eyebrow. It will change shape a little bit once I close this up. See, we have, and I can sew it with a little bit of a curve. Let's go ahead and pin that back in place again. Yeah, but so basically what happens is my internet is not fantastic. I've gotten used to playing a different way. Whenever I used to play multiplayer, I used to be pretty deadly. But now games are a little bit different as far as movement goes, and you need that better connection. And I moved out of town, so I don't have that option. What do we think? He is adorable, the big brown one with the... Oh, yeah, that like a china cabinet. This one right here. It's actually got... It's my mom's, and I think it used to be my grandparents'. And it has Hummels in it. And if you know what Hummels are, you're probably pretty old too. All right, so we have a smaller eyebrow. Do we like this eyebrow? Should I make it smaller? It is a beautiful and ancient wooden cabinet, and there is so much stuff inside there. My mom has kept a few magazines that I've been in, some local stuff, some art stuff. There's Hummels, there's china, there's some crystalware, some really nice stuff inside that. Eyebrow's perfect. Okay, so we're going to keep the eyebrow at about that. I'm going to trim the drawing down just a little bit so that I know. And if I am correct, this should still be about the same. All right, now we have a few thoughts on this. It is a very sturdy one. The base of it's separate, and it's very heavy. And I kind of want to get it out so I can bring a desk out here to work in instead of having to work on the table. But who knows? Okay, so here we go. We have a few thoughts. First, I'll just make a second one of these since we know this is the right size. I am curious as to what you guys think about this while I'm drawing this, and I'm going to kind of try and explain it while I'm drawing or while I'm cutting this out. I have to make sure I get, the right direction because I want it to be going sideways so that I can kind of pet like this. I think I've got this on backwards. No, it seems fine. But it seems to me like if you're playing with your plush, that this is how you're going to pet the eyebrows. And this is how you're going to pet the head or the back of the head. So I did my best to make the grain go in that direction. So the things that I'm kind of curious about, and I'd love your input on, we have extra eyes. Do we think we need more eyebrows? I could always test it. And while we're doing that, consider different expressions as well. So we have a few different things we're going to work on. We should have plenty of time because this eyebrow is going to come together real quickly. We could even make a couple test small eyebrows for these small eyes because it seems more funny to me to have more eyebrows than it would be scary. And I don't know if that fits because I don't mind it being scary. It's just kind of trying to decide between the balance of Cute-thulhu and just plain Cthulhu. And I don't know if everybody saw, I'm going to go ahead and bring the wings back out here so we can maybe see it all together. Do some adjusting, move this out of the way. My sewing machine is landing on something, so it's kind of rocking in place. There we go. Okay. So, get this here. Here is our whole Cthulhu. The wings are pretty sturdy, so they will stand up. And then when we get the expression on here, that'll make a difference too. And in the future, I could always add like different types of eyes or something like that. Like if I gave it bright pink eyes. I keep my fabric in mind with my mom's fine china. I think that's just big ones are angry. Also, the big ones angry. Also maybe a little lower. Okay, so the eyebrow just a little bit lower. Yeah, when we get to that point, I think what'll happen is we'll kind of play around. Like, let's see. I think I can get it just a little bit lower here. And then it'll kind of go like that. Yeah, being able to pin it in place is definitely helpful. So it kind of gives us an option for it. And when I put the second one on there, we'll test a few expressions on it. But I think that I'm curious. Are you guys curious as to what it will look like if we have eyebrows on the other ones? Or should we just kind of leave them as is? Without them having anything, they kind of still look like eyes. But they are a little bit more monstrous. Which is not a problem. I have to move him over and be careful that he doesn't fall because his head is still not sewn on. I also need to find my Cute-thulhu bag. I have a bag of the pattern so far. And I have not spelled it correctly one time. I think I spelled it... Every time I try to spell it, I have to retry and Google search and then research because I know that I'm spelling it wrong. Even though I know what I'm talking about, I know I'm spelling it wrong every time. All right, we'll do a quick sew on here. And then on top of that, what I could do is instead of using the pins, I can do just a very simple sew in place. So we can really see what it'll look like without the pins being in the way. Now, another thing I considered is that we could do clothing on it. We can... So I had this idea of making a Cthulhu, a business Cthulhu. And what I could do is, much like I make the mice in different types, different themes and stuff like that, once we're done with this guy, I could figure it out a little bit, and I can give him like a suit and tie and a briefcase. Or I can give him like bunny ear, like one of those, what's not a hat, the fake bunny ear thing that it's like a hair clip, the horseshoe shaped hair thing. And I think that would actually be kind of funny to do, and that could be what fixes our Cute-thulhu the whole way through. So maybe I do a little bit of adjustment for the tentacles on his mouth, and then I put a little tie on him, and then put a briefcase in him, and one of those like business style hats, like a 70s, 80s style hat. I think that'd be kind of funny to do too. Headband, yes, thank you, man. Why is it that I could not come up with such a simple word? It kind of gets stuck in your head and you just can't flush it out. And we'll get this eyebrow adjusted. I may have made this one a little bit smaller, but that's okay. I can make the second one I can just recut one to match. Yeah, it's a tiny bit smaller, but hopefully not enough to really make a difference. If it does, I've got the pattern for this one specifically, so I'll just make a second one. But yeah, that could be our way of making this Cute-thulhu a little different. We can have like an outfit for him. I can make it the Ulu Cthulhu. So I'll give it like little cat ears and cat gloves. So we can do different expressions with the eyebrows and then different themes. I'm glad he's cute. I was kind of wondering if he was coming off as cute at all, or if it was just going to be one of those kind of gothic, kind of scary plushes that's cute because it's not cute. It's such a fine line sometimes, depending on what we're doing. So one of the things also I have a question for you guys about. I have recently posted about this. We had talked about maybe doing a different, like, scary version of a Pokemon. Like a horror version of a Pokemon. Maybe like a Abomination from Eevee. Oh, see, look at that. I give it the confused look, like the, huh? And it lands pretty cute, I think. It's almost like it's giving you the puppy dog eyes. The Cthulhu Eldritch eyes. Yeah, it does. It's like, don't you think I'm cute? Don't you want to give me that extra cake?
I'm Christian.
I think that's kind of funny in its own way. All right, so let's try and do some adjustments here. I'm going to go ahead and use a little bit of thread instead of these needles because I can get a little bit more control over where they land. I'm actually going to go ahead and sew these closed. I don't see a reason why I wouldn't. So let me cut out some thread. This will be something, another thing to show, because the truth is pretty much each one of these, what I'm doing is I'm also putting these up on YouTube. And my thinking is that somebody could watch just about any of these videos and pick up a few tips on how to do a little bit of sewing. I don't know how much fun it will be to watch just as in general, especially since you can't really interact and I'm asking a lot of questions of people. But here's how you would close a plush. So I've got this hole here. I'm using a needle that's a little bit too big. I'm going to stab it through and then I'm going to bring it right back in where it came out. Pull it back out the hole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it between the two strands of thread. So now that's going to hold it tight and in place. Now all I have to do is start sewing. And keep all my filling on the inside. That was Chip, for anybody who doesn't already know. I'm going to have to make a t-shirt of Chip, maybe a little cartoon drawing sticker for people. Now, you take your thread and you're going to go immediately to the other side. There's side 1 and side 2. And all you're going to do is you're going to come out on side 1. You're going to make a shallow stitch on side 2. Pull it tight and repeat. You're going to just go all the way or back over directly across to where you came out. You're going to make sure your edges stay folded in. And you're just going to keep repeating that. It's called a ladder stitch because basically you're making a ladder rung with each new stitch. Now this is how you would close up a plush where you've got it opened. This is also the same type of stitch you would use to attach multiple limbs, or in this case, I'm going to use that same stitch to attach my eyebrow. Yes, sir? You found that? Yes, I know. You can take it back there if you want.
Why?
Because if you want to, you can. You don't have to keep it out here. Then when you're done, you just kind of pull it tight. I'm going to do an extra couple of back stitches because I think it's just going to make it a little bit more strong. A little bit stronger. I think that's the proper grammar. Pull it nice and tight. Now, on the occasion, you'll find that between the stitches, the materials come up. Just push it down a little bit. Use something small that'll get between your stitches and it'll feed it back into the opening. Pull it nice and tight. And to tie it off, you do another shallow stitch. Wrap your thread around the needle a couple times. Pull that out and tight. You've got a knot right here. I'm actually going to pull it a little bit tighter on each individual strand because what happened was I didn't pull it evenly. So one of the strands it's got a little bit extra. See, there we go. And then to hide your end, you push that in, pull it out through a random part of your plush. Pull tight, cut it off, and now your loose end is on the inside of what you just sewn up. And you can do that with big plushes too. That's actually how I'm going to close up the body, the head. Everything's going to close up that same way. Yes, Chip as a chip. So you're saying I should make like a potato chip dog? I think that'd be kind of funny. Start sending that to people whenever they order something from me. I'll make him my mascot, him and my son. With the exception of I'll show you Chip, but I won't show you my son. I'll just make a cartoon version of him. Nobody will ever know. That's another thing I'm probably going to wind up doing with this. I'm probably going to make some Cthulhu, Cute-thulhu plush, or not plushes, stickers. I'll do a little bit of digital art for it. Probably won't do that live because I probably have to have like a TV on somewhere while I'm doing that so that I can keep focused. Sometimes it's hard to do art stuff without having something to entertain me. because I lose track of time more than anything else. I'll suddenly realize I've been working on something for 4 hours, haven't eaten, need to go to sleep. All right, try to do that real quick so we could get to the sewing part. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the thread in this one. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and move the body. We'll come back to the body in a minute. This way we can work on the expression. Okay, so we want mad. So I'm just going to do a real quick stitch to kind of get that sewn on really low on here. This is way faster than I would do because I would do way more stitches if I were making this permanent. But this way we can kind of see what it's going to look like and what I might need to change. So I'm going to hold it in place. Nope, that's got to go all the way in. I'll probably have to go back over it again anyways, even though this is just a test stitch. A lot of times I won't do this exact thing for a test. I will just use the pins. But I think that to help you guys see it better, without all the pins being in the way, and I honestly do think it shows a little bit easier. No, I got caught on the previous on the eye. Oh, I don't want that tied off. Let's go ahead and fix that. And that should be good. Gives it a nice little angry curl. What do we think? Does that look angry? I'll leave that little bit of thread there. Shouldn't be enough to cause a problem for the way it looks. And then I'm going to do one more right here. Let's go ahead and start on this side. We get this eye sewn on as well. We definitely want it angry, so I'm going to try and get it to overlap. It doesn't have to be even. I don't feel like an angry expression has to be perfectly even on both sides. Again, this is just enough to keep it in place. So if you're watching this, keep in mind that there should be way more stitches if you are doing a final placement on it. Looks like I could even leave like a portion of the eyebrow up, like right here, instead of bringing it all the way in. But we're going to go ahead and bring it all the way in for now. One more stitch. Let's get that just a little bit back there. Cut this loose so we can see. Just enough thread to hold it there. And now we've got an angry eldritch cutie. He's got the look of, why have you summoned me? Why are you cuddling me? Stop it. Stop it. He's so angry. I am an eldritch horror. Stop cuddling with me. I will destroy. I will raise you to the ground. No, I don't want cuddles. Yes, you little cuddles. You get a cuddle. Yes, you do. And I got the eyebrows so that you can pet them. Well, this one's backwards, but. So what do you guys think? We want to keep the angry look then? Wrap him up. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Thank you, Cat Mama. All right, so we're going to stick with the angry look. That's a good thing. I will permanently sew those on, and here is a thought. I'm going to do just a real simple little eyebrow. We're going to look at half of it with the extra eyebrows. Having it peeking out was actually kind of cute. I thought so too. And I got the holes in the wings, so maybe I can have the eyes poking through that. I have a feeling that putting the extra eyebrows is just not going to work. But I'm going to do a real quick test version of that. I'm going to roll this scrap piece. I actually have smaller pins that I can use that might hide a little bit better. I really think that there's a chance. Well, I don't know. This is going to be kind of hard to do. I can make an eyebrow. That's not really even a problem. I was trying to make it as a temporary test thing that is actually going to be harder to do. It doesn't really show up all that well, does it? Maybe it's because I haven't sewn it together. I'm just trying to get just enough of it to see if we can even tell if it's something worth doing. And what's kind of funny is the amount of work it's already taking to do this. I could have easily just sewn an eyebrow and just slapped it up there. So now we have an eyebrow on that one. I don't think that it really makes a difference, does it? So no eyebrow, eyebrow. Or do you think that I should just go ahead and make one and then we can test it that way? Because this is kind of hard to tell. It's all flat and oddly shaped. I think I'm just going to go ahead and real quick sew one real quick. Yeah, it's really hard to tell that at that, isn't it? So I'm going to go ahead and sew this real quick. Let's go ahead and get him out of the way. Just a super quick, tiny eyebrow. I'm already missing my material. My hope is that this is just going to be just good enough for us to right side it out. I'm going to have to do extra weird stitches for it just to get it in place. But at least we'll know. Oh, you know, I was in the middle of trying to ask you guys a question and realized that I kind of just stopped right in the middle of it. So I was talking about how I was planning on doing for the next Weird Wednesday. My original plan was I was thinking about making a horror-themed Pokemon. I've got some drawings and a few things, like maybe making like an actually scary Gengar or making a Abomination for the Eevee evolution. But I just recently posted something where I was planning on making something for some people of a Mothman. Basically making a tiny little Mothman that could be probably worn just the same way as my plush mice. And I kind of was curious. Do you guys think you would rather see something like that? Like a brand new design instead of something based off of something else? Or would it be more fun to make a monstrous version of those popular monsters? I can't say their names too many times because TikTok starts flagging me thinking that I am trying to do advertising or selling something. All that stuff becomes a problem. So I have to utilize various words in a very different way. If you look on my page, I have a tattoo with that's awesome. Have you seen Underwater? Auntie Mary Poppins. Auntie Mary, that's funny. I like that. Auntie Mary Poppins, that they have a Cthulhu tattoo. And it made me think part of the inspiration for making this guy was the movie Underwater. And one of the characters actually had a back tattoo of Cthulhu as well. Auntie Mary Poppins. I'll have to go check that out. All right, so here we go. Just a very simple, let me tack this in place. Little eyebrow. Trying to give it the same angry expression so all the eyes have an angry look on them. When it's sewn in place, it'll be a little bit more flush. And then this side is without that extra eyebrow. Adding the eyebrows is probably not going to be like a bad thing, but not like it probably won't look like an eyebrow. It'll probably just look like, I don't know, just an additional part to it. So Auntie Mary Poppins, Underwater is actually one of my favorite horror movies, and it's one of those movies that got a lot or very little appreciation. So you might not have even heard of it, but it's a fun watch. But if you start it, I promise it's worth finishing. The ending is my absolute favorite part of that movie. So what do you guys think? Should I make a couple more small eyebrows? One for this one, and then yeah, this one's too much because it interferes with that eye. If I put an eyebrow on here, yes, it looks like an angry eye, but I think it'll interfere too much with that eye. But this one, I kind of think it adds a little extra shape to it. Even if it doesn't look like an eyebrow, I think that it has enough that brings some texture and some interesting details to the face. But what I'll do is I'll wait to add them until we add the ears, the gills. Once we add the gills, we'll know that it needs a little bit extra. But I think the eyebrows like this look great. I think that's both fun and cute, and it leaves us a lot of options where I could just make different expressions on them. And then adding this will be something to help the shape, because I think just a rounded shape is kind of coming off a little bit flat and not dull, but maybe the word is too simple. So adding a few other things will help out. And I think that might also change once we add these gills. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this over here in my side pile. And now let us decide together what we think about. There we go. Stay there. Stay. All right, so here's what we are on now. I do recommend it. I tell a lot of people about that movie. My sister and brother-in-law used to watch a lot of movies, and that's one of the movies I told them that they should watch that's underrated. All right. So these are the gills that I'm thinking about adding. On that plush, it'll look a little different. I don't have to make them quite as big. But I also have options for adding like the shape on the top of the head to kind of give it this almost squid-like shape. I could make it a bigger version right here. I don't think I like this. This one kind of makes me think of a mind flayer more than I think of a Cthulhu. And I don't think that that's the direction I want to go here. And with this one, it kind of gives it a cherubic, cherub, as in like angel, like soft, cute look to it, which could be good for what we're going for. So if I added like the little forehead knob that kind of goes around the back, say it goes from here all the way around to about here, that could give it a cute shape. But what do you guys think? Do we want gills or do we want to change the shape of the head? There's a possibility that I really think the gills would be a good plan. The little fins, all right, excellent. So we're going to go with that to begin with. We're just going to run with that. So we will start off with just a little bit of drawing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what size we want the gills to be. And in fact, I've got just a couple scrap pieces of paper here. Just enough to give us a general idea. I think, honestly speaking, that size would probably be too big. So we can go smaller with this. Let's do this, and then this will make it a little bit smaller even when I go to cut it, or when I go to sew it. And I'll make my pattern a little bit more decisive after this, so that we can kind of draw the shape on after. So I think that that'll help out a lot. I think that size is a good place to start. And it's going to be smaller because, again, I lose about 1/4 inch on everything that I sew. So let's go ahead and do some adjustments on this pattern. Gills. Excellent. All right, so we'll do a point on it. Let's see, my drawing has a couple points. I can do the sewing thing like I did with the wings, where I fill in this little area. So I'll put a little bit of fluff in there, and I'll sew this shape up. And then, do I need a bottom one? Probably. I probably do need just enough on the bottom. Let's cut this real quick so we can see what we're looking at. This should be pretty small. It may be still a little bit too big, but if it is, I can make some adjustments by just bringing it in a little bit. But I think this will be good. Then what I can do, after I sew all this together, I can sew the outside to give these some extra shape. I'll lose quite a bit. That'll make it pretty small. I think that this is just enough too big that the amount smaller it'll get when I sew it should work out pretty well. So out of curiosity, I know there's a few people here that are new, but there's several of you that have been here for quite some time. Is it more fun to kind of work with me on these than it is for me to just have my own thoughts and just start running with them? Or does it feel like a little bit too much? I know from experience that a lot of people, when they are presented with too many options, don't know what to do. And I say that because, for example, I make my plushes, right? I make these little mice. I make that's a bunny. I make the little mice, and then I make them custom versions of it. And I found that sometimes people just don't know what to ask for. There's so many different options that you can do that it becomes kind of hard for people to choose. And I know that I've had people just say, you know what, I don't want to deal with this. Never mind, I've changed my mind. So I'm kind of wondering, is the idea of me asking you and involving you in this a little bit more stressful, or is it fun? Because I picture it as being fun. Because instead of me just coming in here saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, I'm giving you the option to kind of help me figure it out. And to me, the ability to come up with different choices and personalize things makes things a lot more fun. I always feel like the idea behind Build-A-Bear was fun because of that, even though that was still kind of limited. But I also know I've known people that they just won't go to Build-A-Bear because there's just too many choices. Which, yes, sounds goofy, but at the same time, I get it. I'm used to being creative and thinking, why do I have to stay with what everybody else is doing? And I can imagine that something like that just becomes too much of a stress. They see something they like, and that's what they want, and that's totally awesome too. So let me know. It's something I'd happily figure out and adjust. I can have different days that I do different things. A little of both. I think it's fun. Well, that's good. So essentially what winds up happening is, it sounds to me, Cat B, is that a little bit of guidance and a little bit of options. Like, for example, I came up with the idea that I'm doing the Cute-thulhu, but you like the idea of helping with a couple ideas and not helping when you don't feel like it. Like, nah, I don't have an opinion. I won't say anything. At least that's what it sounds like. And then Tina Tuh, you said you have fun with it, so I'm guessing that you like the idea of being able to create something with me at the same time. Well, fantastic, because that's definitely helpful. And I am trying to grow this. I don't think I'm ever going to make money off of people watching, but the more interactivity I have, the more ideas I can come up with, the more personalized I can do things. And I think it'll be a lot more fun for everybody. And I kind of like the idea of growing that fun. So that's good to know, and I appreciate the feedback. I really, 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 really do. Oh, where's my top and bottom? Did I do this the right way? There's one direction. There's the other direction. There we go. Wow. Co-host, how about I decline? I don't know you, so hey, Shadow. I just told somebody that I don't know them, and I had to decline their offer to share. I would love to share to what is it? Co-host to something like that with somebody at some point in time. I know Cat B does some sewing, so I think that could be a lot of fun if you want to join. If one day we want to schedule so that we're both working on something. Tina does the video games, and I've already mentioned how I love the idea of playing video games. I think it might be kind of fun depending on what we play. Maybe we could all play together and sew in between. Yes, I'm a dork, and I'm aware that I'm a dork, but I'm okay with being a dork. I think I may have made this a little bit too small. Not because I don't like the size, but because it's going to be a little bit harder to sew. But I'm kind of doing some adjustments on the fly as I go, just to see how it works out. You know, I think I started that thing where I was asking about what I was going to do next time, and I got sidetracked again. That's my life, guys. If I don't finish what I'm working on, and I try to switch up midway through, it is very likely that I'm never going to finish what I'm working on. You're finished? Watch you. I'm looking, baby. What are you doing? You know you can't climb across that right now because I'm not over there with you, right?
My nails.
Your nails? Oh, very pretty. Yeah, Mommy painted your nails. That is fantastic. Yeah, do you like it? What color is it? Cutting off the corners. So one of the things I'm doing here, if you see, I've got this point that I've sewn into it. First off, I have to cut off the edge of that point so that that material will not take up that space. And then secondly, because it comes in like this, I also have to cut a little slit right here because otherwise that will stop the material from folding out the way I need it to. I am going to cut off a little of the extra because they're so small. But definitely something you're going to need to do is cut just this little line, bring it in. That happens with a curve or with a point. Because otherwise the fabric will right side out and it just will not take the shape that you want it to take. But now that I have distracted myself for the 8th time, let me see, what did you say? I need more practice first. Nah, you can practice with this. It'll be a lot of fun. Let me get my sketchbook real quick. I have to scan through this quickly because I've got things on here that are not safe for people. So here's what I had done. The Pokemon, making horror versions of the Pokemon. And then we were talking about other types of monstrous things that I could do, like the arms or the mouths or the nightmare creatures. But I also made a sketch. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The idea was to make a Tiny Mothman. This is the one I'm going to make for him. But the idea being Tiny Mothman, and then someone said Mothwoman. But I didn't see, did anybody have an opinion on which they preferred to be done? Do you guys like the idea of me doing one of those in particular? So I'm trying to find my page while we're looking at this. But the idea is that I would make them small enough to be worn around so that they will be kind of like my mice. I know my page is, here we go. Or do you think I should do the Pokemon? What do you guys like the idea of seeing me do next? I would love to have comments on that I can read through. One of the things that happens is I don't always see messages on my live, but I do check afterwards, and it shows me what everybody has said. So if I do miss your opinion, your thoughts, or whatever, I will see it afterwards. And quite oftentimes I'll try to mention back. Scary Pokemon. All right, so we got to vote for Scary Pokemon. I am still going to be doing the other stuff, but I can do those at other times. And I think it'd be a lot of... I've thought about making the scary monster of those for quite some time. So when we do, I'll have to take some votes, or I will probably pick one of the two, and then we'll kind of run with that. I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of fluff inside here. My intention is, if I put just a small layer of fluff inside, I can spread it out. And then when I stitch on the top of all of this, what I'll do is I'll stitch right across here, and then I'll do a little line here to kind of give it some shape. It'll really hold its shape really well, and it'll kind of become stiff. And I think that that'll help bring out that shape quite a bit. The gill shape, I guess, is what we're going for here. Could you sew the lines with the lime green? I could, but I'm not sure how much they would show. And truth is, this is the only amount of lime green I have. I don't even have I do have a bobbin. Well, I guess I could. I definitely can. Since I have a bobbin, I have enough to do both sides of it. I can do the lime green. I'll do it as a simple line. And then if it doesn't show, I can embroider it. And if we don't like it, I'll just cut another one. That's not a problem at all. And that'll give us another option for it. I'm trying to get just enough fluff in here where it's covering the whole thing, but not like super thick. All right, so let me go ahead and switch out my threads. See, that's exactly the type of thing that I like doing. That's not something I would do. That's not an idea that I would have had. But it's easily fun to do new stuff based on other people's ideas too. And the good news is, it's not like any of this is so permanent that we can't undo, redo, change, improve, whatever. I'm trying to get my thread in there real quick. It's not a hard process to do, but it's not super entertaining either. All right, let's see if I can adjust this. I think it'll show like the tongue. And it might. It easily might. So I'm going to start with just a straight line so we can see what that looks like. I really think we're going to have to thicken it up by doing a small amount of embroidery to it. But that's not going to be a problem either. Just a thin line across the top to start. That should be just enough to give it some shape. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the other side. Just going to flip it. And I'm going to do the entire vein, ear, whatever. I don't know what word to use for that. I do have to watch out and not slam my finger into the machine. I'll go one more time in the other direction, and I will just cut all of these loose at once. Sorry, I was trying not to slam my finger into it. This machine going up and down, I have caught my finger in that before, and it's like getting hit by a hammer. It's quite aggravating, actually. Right, so this is what I was expecting, because it's such a small line, and the fuzz on this is still pretty thick, and we can't see the color. Let me go ahead and turn this just a little bit. So if we like the shape of it and you still want the color in there, what I will do is use a thin embroidery line and just go back over what we just did. All I'm trying to do is cut off all my spare pieces. Trying not to leave too much. Unfortunately, I really think the loose strands are the only parts that you're really going to be able to see. Yeah, see, it gave it some shape. But in order to see that, I'm definitely going to have to go back over it again. Would you like me to go back over it again? I'm probably just going to do one strand here and then one strand here instead of as many as I did, because you can't even tell the shape between this little wedge here. So do you still want me to go ahead and run it with the green? I'm assuming you do. I'm just going to go ahead and run with it. I really think that you are, and it's definitely worth trying. And then leave it at about a 2. The angle of my foot on the pedal is really weird, so I can't get it to quite go. Just a quick back stitch. Let's see if that showed up. It kind of did. I may have to go over it again. And it may not be wide enough. It looks like I'm just going to have to go over it a second time and hope that I've got enough thread in there. Good news is if we wind up liking this, I can always go get some more thread if I do run out. I'm going to make it a little bit wider. I think that will help as well. Okay. One more look. Yeah, we can definitely see that way better. And I don't know if that's because I went over it again or because I made it wider. It's probably a combination of the two. Let's go ahead and do the other one real quick. Do it about a 3 again. Sorry I'm so quiet. I'm trying to really watch what it's doing. And the reason is because I know that I'm cutting it really close on my bobbin thread. So I'm trying not to have to go back over it a second time. So I'm trying to do just a little bit of extra paying attention. I'm not even going to look at it. No one's going to look at it. We're just going to put it on his head and we're going to see. All right. Here's his angry little face. Let me go ahead and maneuver this a little bit. Here we go. Here we go. All right, everybody look away. Look away. Look away for just a moment. Just a moment. Don't look. Don't look. Look away. Look away. Close your eyes. Keep not looking. Continue not looking. I'm trying to get it pinned in place. Come on, pin. Work with me here. Seriously, at this point, I'll stab myself in the thumb to get it. That's fine. All right. All right. All at once. Everybody on the count of one. One, look. What do we think? I've got a little bit of fluff sticking out right here, but I think that it turned out good. I like the little lines in there. It helped bring out that shape, even without there being like a whole lot of fit to it. And it adds a little bit extra in there. I think that was a very good idea, Cat B. Again, this fuzz sticking out is kind of bugging me. I know that it's not going to be there later, but just trying to see what it looks like.
Aww.
Yeah. So we got an angry face. Yeah, that turned out pretty decent. So we've got like 2 splashes of color now. Cat B. I wonder if Cat B's phone died on him. All right, so I actually think the size on this works really well too. I think I could sew it back a little bit more. I could leave it sticking out. Either one is fine, but what I'll do is I'll probably like sew on like right here and then decide if I need to stitch it further back. I think just having 2 is good. If I had 3, it'd be fine, but I think 2 gives it a lot of shape. Do you like the color, Cat B? The size, I really think the size works pretty well for that. And here's another thing. We'll go ahead and tack that back on real quick. All right, excellent, excellent. Mentioned earlier, trying to put little brows on that. It adds a little bit more shape to it as well. It doesn't take away from the fin. Again, it doesn't exactly look like an eyebrow, but it keeps that from looking like a nose. See, that looks like a nose to me, but at the same time, it should be fine. I think the idea comes across immediately. So I'll do both the brows here, and then I've got this fin, which I've already drawn up, so that's great. And then I'll see if I have enough this neon green. If not, I'll have to go buy some more just for this project, which is kind of funny. Okay, we are now on to the next part. I'm not going to worry about finalizing these details. I'll do those off. Let's go ahead and slide you up here. Do some adjustments for a few things here. So now we can see him poking out. All right, so what do we have? We have feet. I don't know if we're going to need more shape to the head. I think that adding that fin fixed that problem. So I don't think we're going to need like a knob or any kind of excess, but I might make one and then kind of test it later if you guys are interested especially. Let's see if I were to just give you an example. If it were to have like a knob or something on top. Let's go ahead and pin that in place. Again, all I'm doing is just kind of slapping stuff on there so we can see what we think. And then just a little bit more shape on there. I mean, it's not bad. Okay, good. So you like as is. I mean, it definitely does change the shape of it quite a bit. It changes the expression. Do you still agree that it doesn't need anything extra on the head, but we like this and this combined? And here's the thing. I can always do these and then add something way later, like after we finish the rest of it as well. So if you guys like the head enough as is, we won't add a top knot of any sort. So then that leaves us with the feet. You love the as is Tinata, or Teeny-ta, or do you like the knot on the top? No extra top. I think the hat, you're right. Adding a hat, adding the bunny ears, that kind of stuff will make a big difference. Okay, excellent. Then we have a consensus amongst those who are speaking. I do think it's cute. I think part of what I'm doing is overthinking and overworrying. But you guys are all right. If we put a hat on there, if I put anything else on there, that'll make all the difference too. So that leaves us with feet. And then we'll have to decide if we want a tail as well. Let's see. All right, so if I do feet, I could do literally just a foot and sew it on right here. And that would basically look like that. So I'll have the arm here and then just a foot sewn on. We could do some other type of leg all together. I could do like tentacle on there. I'm not sure if that would make too many tentacles. And then I could do them all the way around, not right there. That looks bad. I'm not going to do that exactly. But this is the shape of the body now, so let's keep that in mind. Yeah, exactly. Not quite what we want. And of course, I could just kind of off center, so I have like another tentacle right here or something like that. So we have the idea of tentacles for feet. I'm not sure if that would be necessary. Let's see, let's put this all together again. So tentacles for feet, that might be a little bit too big. I'm not sure how that would feel one way or another. I could make tiny little tentacles. Does anybody have a thought on that? Because what I could do is just make like a test foot for it and put it on there, and we can see how it looks. I could do the same thing with a tentacle. Add like a test tent. Wow, that would have sounded hilarious. Another tentacle, but maybe just try a test foot version, and I'll do like the little claw that I've drawn here. Yeah, fortunately, I caught myself before I finished the word, which would have been hilarious in its own little way. All right, so I'll just go ahead and do a little foot. Make it bigger than the claw is. And get my paper out. Yep, that should be good for me to draw onto. There we go. That should be bigger. I might have to make the foot just a little bit bigger so that it kind of matches the body a little bit better. Three? Okay, I can do three. Let me go ahead and I think I'm trying to figure it out all at once, which seems silly, I'm sure. So let's do about the same size, do a tiny bit bigger. And then let's see, we can do one. I can do one and then two. Or I can, let's see. I don't want to do a dinosaur foot. I think that's part of what I'm trying to avoid while drawing this up. But let's go ahead and look at it real quick just to see. So here. Do we think the dinosaur foot just kind of doesn't work? It might actually be just fine. Do it a little bit wider. And maybe make one toe smaller, so that's the inside toe. Large outer, small in. So let's say, basically give it a little pinky toe. Now give me a pinky toe, a big middle toe, and a slightly smaller outer toe. Now the good thing is, with something like this, being a little awkward and uneasy, this isn't going to scare anybody, but this is very clearly not a normal design. Works when you are making a monster, an eldritch horror, as you would say. Right, big middle, left, small left. Okay. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Make that one a little bit shorter. Yeah. I think that works out pretty well. And I could always add something in the middle. Like for a Cute-thulhu, I could always make like a little heart in here at some point in time. Maybe not a heart, but like I'm using that as a very quick, simple example of something I could sew on that. But I can do it in a different color. I can do the pads of the feet, like white pads of the feet. So gives it a different color pad. And we can even use a different color on there, like maybe the same mint color we used on the side of that tentacle, but it's not something we have to do. And I can always add that at a later time. So let me go ahead and cut this out. I think I'm going to go run with that. And if I do it right, we can get this sewn on pretty quick. I'm thinking that if I do this, I won't have to add legs. And honestly, I don't really want to add legs because that is a whole other process. And I did have the brief thought of giving it like these elongated kind of monstrous legs or giving it like really thick legs. But I think trying to keep it cuter by making it a little bit more minimal will be a nice little addition to it. We're going to do the pad of the foot up and then the back of the foot. No, this up. And yeah, we'll do them both up. So that way you can grab it like this when you're playing with it. So that makes it a little bit easier. I got to find my up. Looking for upsies, uppies, uppies, uppies. Again, what I'm doing, in case anyone's curious, this fuzz, this material's got a thickness to it. You can see how much fuzz there is. But it's also got a direction. If you pet against it, it's not uncomfortable. It's not any less soft. It's just not as smooth feeling. So I tend to like to do is imagine what direction you'll be petting, whatever I'm making. And then I will make sure that my fuzz goes in that direction when I cut it. In this case, I imagine going this way up along the toes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut to the toes. The tip of the toes is where the fuzz ends. Now that will be a preference thing. I don't know if there is a specific reason why you would have to do it one direction or another. I am all self-taught. I've learned little bits and pieces here and there. So if you're learning to try and make your own plushes, if you're following along with this, like in the future for a pattern, you can decide for yourself. None of these things are so important that it's going to ruin a plush. And in fact, there are a lot of times when I will accidentally do parts of it in the wrong way because I sew it together upside down or because I forgot to flip my material. And it's not something that's going to hurt anything in the future. So play around with it. Decide what you like best. There might be times when you think it feels better when it's a little bit more rough because of what you're making. Like, for example, let's say you're making like a dog and you want to have more rough fur. Let's see, top, ear, and foot. So I'm marking everything so that I have that ready whenever if I go to redo it. You might find a lot of times when you're making your own patterns as well, that if you don't write it down specifically, especially for things like the body, you might find that it's really hard to remember what you were planning on doing. With something like a foot like this, it is really obvious. But as you get to the point where you have separate parts of the belly and the chest, you've got two parts of the back, or maybe you've got ears and different shapes, you'll find that the more labels you have, the happier you'll be. Because sure, you'll remember now, but you come back in a month and you're trying to figure out exactly what you did. If you play video games and you've ever played one of those games that's got an open map, and you've got multiple missions, and then suddenly you walk away for a month and you are in the middle of a side quest, you have no idea what you're doing. So imagine it the same way. You're just going to want to make it as easy as possible to pick back up later when you come back to doing the thing. What shapes could you make for the pad? Well, in this, the truth of the matter is I have this, I've done the basting thing, and that's where I run just a simple stitch to hold it in place. So I have made a giant octopus that had a key shape into it. And by that, I mean a literal round top, that exact shape. I've also made snakes, and I think I've got them posted, where I have used different symbols like different zodiacs or alchemy symbols. So I have done a lot of different things like that. I did the sulfur symbol on a snake one time. So I can pretty much do anything size allowing. So like a heart, a diamond, I could make a cross in there. If Cthulhu had his own shape, I could probably design that into it. And there's a lot of ways to do that where I can do like applique, like I did with with my Bulbasaur here, where I put one type of material down on top and then sewed it in place by using an embroidery stitch all the way around it and held it in place. This isn't sewn directly onto it in the middle. Or I can do it so that it is just one seamless piece of fuzz because of the way I stitch it together. So is there something you were kind of thinking? All right, Teenita, you have a good one. Thank you so much for coming by. I really do appreciate it. Sign like a summon. Yeah, that's kind of why I brought it up, because like a summoning symbol would actually be one of the thoughts that I would have too. I can look and see what kind of things, like maybe something, one foot has water, one foot has sulfur. But it might depend on how big the symbol is and how detailed, because if it gets too small, there's going to be a lot of loss in the design. So there are some limitations depending on where it goes. And that's something I could put on his belly too. Instead of having the symbols on their foot, which I actually think symbols like that on their foot would be really cute. I could put it on the belly, and that might change it from being cute to being a little bit more scary looking, but that's also okay. I thought about making demons in the past and putting little symbols on them. So that's how come I had that idea before. All right, let's get this foot on there. And we may call this an early night. I think, having done several different things on here, most of what I would be doing next is the finalizing it up, making more of them, perfectly sewing them on, stuff like that. But this way, we'll be able to see what all these different parts are, and it might leave us kind of finished. Which is great, too, because then I can show a finalized Cute-thulhu, and then maybe we can start making some outfits for it or messing around with some other cute ideas that we have. And then what I will probably do, unless I get votes to the contrary, for my next Weird Wednesday, I will do the different scary Pokemon versions. And maybe I'll take some votes on that. Maybe I'll just kind of run with an idea that I have. I've got a few sketches and a few thoughts of different things, but nothing so permanently organized that I know how any of them would turn out. Trying to make sure I don't lose any of my, there we go. Don't get any of my threads, my fabric stuck underneath and fold. And then once we're done with this Cute-thulhu, we can start changing different things. I can cut off like the foot, for example, and we can try different symbols on there. Let me make sure I got everything sewn on both sides. I have to go, but thank you so much, Martina. I appreciate you coming by. In the future, let me know when you're here. I'd love to say hi to you when you come in. All right, just like before, I'm going to cut the tips off of the toes. I'm going to cut that little slit into the crease, the corner, the lip, the edge. I'm not sure what word to use for that. The peak, maybe? The plateau, the inlet. Why am I using land terms when I don't know that much about land terms? Geography. And get this right-sided out. I'm going to go ahead and get it stuffed up as well. One toe, two toe, and then a tiny toe. I think that worked out really well with that different shape. It's a little bit more chaotic than I might have thought for myself. But as we mentioned before, the chaos in a Cthulhu plush does seem to really work. I'm going to have to stuff the toes in first. As I've mentioned before, if you're using fluff and you've got this big wad of fluff and you're trying to move it around, when you put it in, it doesn't slide. It doesn't break up. So what you want to start doing is to fill your toes, you want to do something small. Yes, sir?
Big Mama Bear.
Big Mama Bear?
Uh-huh. The purple one.
A purple Mama Bear.
You're charging glowing.
It is. Where?
A cave.
In a cave?
Ponies and iron.
Oh, the pony. Okay, My Little Pony stuff?
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough to know what you're talking about, so I'll have to watch that with you someday.
You want to be like it.
Oh, Rocky. Okay.
Mama Bear, Bubba.
The Mama Bear's rocking the babies. I did not see, unfortunately, but you can squeak a toy and...
Bear baby.
Bear babies.
The real one.
Yeah.
Real one.
Okay. Go ahead and go watch it. You can tell me what's going on with it later, okay?
I saw it.
You did? I believe you, 100%. All right, get the last of this stuffed up, if I can just get it to go in. And then we will see roughly... Oh, Chip's coming in now. I'm going to go ahead and overstuff this foot. I think rounding it out would be good. Like in the future, I might actually cut a wedge in here to give it more of a rounded shape on the top. I've done that before where the top is bigger, so it has a different shape. But we're going to find out if I need to do that or not. Since it's just going to be kind of a cute little front foot, I might not have to do any extra work on it. But if we wind up adding the symbols to it, it would probably help it take shape a little bit better too. And then if I do that, I can also do that on live so you can see roughly what I do. I'm not sure if it's something that I've not really seen anybody doing that kind of thing for plushes. The truth of the matter is, if I see somebody putting eyes on a plush or symbols on a plush, it's usually applique or embroidery. And it looks nice. But what I do it because I like the idea of the plush being soft all around. Applique is pushing the limit of what I think is soft, but sometimes it looks good. And the safety eyes, I use those because it's not feasible to make the eyes the way I would otherwise, which is what I've done for giant plushes before, like octopus. All right, so... got here, there's the body. I'm going to move this out a little bit so we can see as much as we can. It's a little bit hard to see because I can't zoom out any further. All right, so let's see. Got the wings. We've got our patchwork head, which has got the eyes, the brows. When I sew the head on, I can move the tentacles around a little bit. Okay, so there we go. And where did I put my foot? Where did I put my foot? Oh, there it is. Now, our foot. Do we want big toe in or big toe out? I think big toe in or little toe in. I think that that is a really good foot for this. Let me see if I can get it to stay on. Maybe a little bit lower. There we go. Actually, I think that looks really cute. It doesn't need a leg. It leaves me enough room where I can put like a little symbol right here if I wanted to later. It's got a really cute shape and it matches with the arms pretty well. It doesn't interfere with much of anything else, and it actually makes the body stand out a little bit better. The arms are kind of awkward because they're right down the middle of this. So maybe what I would do in the future is make a curly front. Here, let me go ahead and put this here, and I'll show you what I mean. I think that to avoid it messing with the arms, what I would do is like make this tentacle curl more in the future so that the arms stand out. The impromptu-ness of this, not knowing what we're going to do, does leave a little bit of space for error. But I think that that foot looks great. I think that was a great choice, Cat B, with the big, small, and medium. And then let's see what it looks like from behind, just so we can kind of get an idea. The tentacles can go front or back. When I sew it on, it'll change the shape of how it sets on there pretty well. Do we think we want to put a tail on here? I don't think he needs one. I think that shape is kind of cute. I could put some ridges down his spine, which would just be a cute little addition. Let me see if I got just a small amount of fuzz here that I can use. Change the shape of spine just a little bit, maybe. Little ridges. Just put a couple of those on there, but I don't think a tail's necessary. And since the back is one of the few parts that is exposed between the tentacles and the wings here, I think just a little bit of shape on the spine would kind of be nice. Not necessary, but like kind of over the top. So basically saying, yes, this is good enough, but I want it to be better. And then with everything else sewn on, what do we think? Do we agree no tail, but do we have any thoughts on me putting like a couple little like plates or ridges back here? Go ahead and move this. Oops. Move this back a little bit more again, so now you can see the whole thing. Light green spike. Yeah, I could do that. I can do a couple different shapes back there. We'll do light green so we can see what they look like. Like the mouth. Okay. I can do a small series of tentacles back here. That'd be kind of cute. Originally, we were planning on putting extra tentacles here, but I could put like 2 or 3 just little tentacle spikes on the back. But I think that that is not only a good place to stop, but like a good place to say that it's almost finished. Yeah. I got tentacles going over the wings. That's not a bad thing. The biggest problem that I have is that I may have to do some sewing on the wings in the future to get them to hold place a little bit better. But that's just because if we look here, they kind of do that a little bit too easy. But I'm not sure there's much I can do. If I sewed right here, it might fix that. But it's because of the nature of how they're built. There's a a metal arm or plastic armature that goes through here across the back and then back out the other one. So it's one solid piece, which I did because I knew that that would make it a little bit more sturdy, because otherwise they kind of flap separately. But with them being together, they're not going to fall independently of each other. But I think for the most part, a lot of this wound up being pretty good. What I might do is put a symbol on a foot. I will sew up I'll sew on the eyebrows. I'll do the extra brow here and the ear. And then I'll put on some plates or some spikes on the back, and we'll see how that looks. And once again, I can show you what it looks like when he's peeking. I think the peeking version looks really cute. But I think this is turning out to be pretty nice. A lot of fun to do. And a lot of fun because you guys have helped me figure out different things. The angry expression, maybe I'll try and do something. Yeah, that little bit of green just shows up perfectly. And it doesn't need to be in too many places. Like I could add like veins in the wings or little spots on here coming out the eyes. But I think a little bit less on the standard version is a good way to go. And then if someone's like, hey, I like your Cute-thulhu, can I get this done? Yeah, I can add more to it. And I think that the angry peeking eyes looks really cute too. But I also think that if we do the sad eyes, like the puppy dog eye version, that'll be really cute. Maybe I'll take a picture of it done that way so that we can just kind of reference it. But this is a lot of fun. Too bad John's not here to see the final version of the wings with the armature like he had mentioned. I'll have to try and send him a message so that he can see what it turned out to look like. But here we go. We've got Cthulhu pretty much done. One last look across the whole thing. We got the tears in the wing. We've got the foot added. We got hands. We got the angry eyebrows, the ear with the green pop in it. I could always add piercings onto the eyebrows. We're going to do like a business hat and a tie. We're going to try doing some bunny ears to it. There's a whole lot we can do with this. And I think that this is a great place to end it for the night. I really appreciate you coming by, Cat B. Shadow, if you're still here, thank you for coming in. Let's see. Tina Ta has already left. I think there was one more name on here. I'm trying to see where you are. I'm bad with names, but I'm getting better at it. And it was, you'll be here any second. I know. I'm scrolling up through it to see. Shadow, there's Shadow coming in. It's Auntie Mary Poppins. Thank you so very much as well. I remember you helped out a little bit as well. But thank you guys. I really think this has been a lot of fun. We're going to figure out, I'm going to try and finish this off before next Wednesday. I'm going to try and finish off your mouse, Cat B. I plan to do that today, but again, I was home with the baby. We actually wound up cleaning up a couple rooms, so I didn't get much done. I managed to get the wings done, so I was happy with that. But thank you very much for coming by. I hope you guys had fun. I will see you on my next live, which will probably be an impromptu random day where I'm going to be working on the superhero mouse or my fairy bunny. And if you are interested in voting, I'm still taking votes. I think they're all tied up right now, but it's on one of my posts. And you have a great night.